Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 170 of Dissonant Waves. Ritz and Tricks are here. My name is Domino, and we're here to talk about a
Hello.
bunch of things that are not comedy albums, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might have picked the complete opposite.
Yeah, Ritz, you picked Hockey Dad's new album, Rebuild Repeat, and Doris's new album, Four Trees. I picked two EPs by Awakebutstillinbed, Stay Who You Are, and they're split with For Your Health, Hymns for the Scorned, as well as the two EPs by Flyover States, Anti-Aircraft, and Ghosts. And Trix picked Pretty Hate Machine by 9 Inch Fucking Nails. Hell yeah. We are just all over the place this week. But it's good. I like that.
Well, before we start, Dominic, do you remember where I left off on the gig roundup?
Oh no. No, I don't.
Let's see. I'll go because I kind of want to just get back on it before I forget to do it for a long time again and spend an hour covering it. Okay, so I definitely I think I would have done both Dear Seattle's, wouldn't I?
I think you mentioned Dear Seattle. I think yes,
Yeah, and then I would have mentioned Skeggs,
yes.
because that would have been Arthur on the Monday. So I think Skeggs is where we left it, isn't it?
That sounds right.
Sounds right. Okay, well, I'm doing this in honor of Trix being sick and Dominic coughing a bit. I reckon we can pad for a bit of time early on in this to help Trix not talk for the next 20 minutes.
Yeah. I've been.
You didn't
shouting
have to
all-
reply. You didn't have to reply to that.
I know.
All right. Well, started off. It was the end of Vivid. It wasn't the exact end date, but it was the last Vivid show that I had actually saw. Before it ended. It ended the day after, and that was Deerhoof at Machine Hall. That was the same place that I would have seen Underscores at. Deerhoof was a very interesting show. We had a last minute change of the opener. It was supposed to be a little alternative band called Loose Fit, which I have a couple friends who are massive fans of. They got sick and had to pull out, and we got Annie Hamilton. So I ended up seeing her for the second time this year, which was
Nice.
it was better this time because I liked her at the National. She was really good, but the fact was when they turned off all the lights and you have the softest like solo singer-songwriter, it's a lullaby.
Yeah.
And here it was a lot easier to stay awake for it, which is nice. She has a very lovely voice. Deerhoof was the complete opposite of that sound. They have very. I don't think I've ever covered them on this. They're very chaotic, experimental, avant-garde type of indie rock.
They're old school. They're like lightning bolt age. So
Yeah.
they've been around.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And got to see them for the first time, which is very, very cool. Their drummer is probably one of the most eccentric people I've seen this year. The highlight of that gig being when he was looking for his drumsticks, the brushes, and he ended up getting his suitcase, and he thought that was just like his drum kit. No, it was his actual suitcase where he had everything in there.
Nice.
And he brought out a DVD player for some reason.
Did they play anything?
He had a portable. Nah, they didn't. He just had a portable DVD player. He showed it and put it back in his suitcase.
I'm gonna guess he was either watching something Marvel or something like Wedding Crashers.
Who knows? But yeah, that was a fantastic set. Unfortunately, being Sydney, we get fucked over quite easily when it comes to these things, and we got a shorter set than every other city that had Deerhoof. We got no songs from their 2020 album, which is the one that kind of I got into the most out of all of them. So I was a little upset about that, but what can you do? You can't have everything.
Was it at
Plus,
least like a
Satomi,
career spanning thing, or was it new stuff?
Oh yeah. It was. I mean, it was mostly, or not mostly. The most that they played from was obviously their last album, but they played stuff from like the early days and all that. They missed a couple albums. I think they played it at other shows. Satomi noticed a little unicorn posse I won and kind of complimented it on the way up into the stage, so that was cool.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Next up onto that, Hockey Dad. I got to see that a little acoustic show that they were doing at a record shop in Leichhardt. It was a 4-song set. I capped that because there are no real rules. I made them up so I can.
You're seeing the band.
I can. Yeah. It was just Zach with an acoustic guitar. Played 4 songs from the new album. It was a very cramped space, but it actually wasn't that packed. Which now I was expecting it to be based off the Red Eye one that happened a couple of years ago, but I think this one just didn't really suit everybody time wise and location wise, so it was a bit less packed. There was still a decent turnout. Don't get me wrong. And they played Safety Pin. Fuck, they played 3 others. I'm just trying to remember them all. Played Unhinged. Backup Plan. No, it wasn't Unhinged. I'm just getting all the songs off the top of my head. They didn't play Base Camp or Still Have Room. It was actually a pretty interesting take. They played Wreck and Ruin, which was like kind of like the song. You know when they promote songs when they release the album as a color, like, oh, this is the song to put onto to Spotify and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe it was Unhinged. I don't think it was Unhinged, but I'm gonna go fucking. Someone actually did put it up on the set list now, and I'm gonna go fucking find that.
Oh god,
because it's bugging me.
I can't believe Brain
It was Unhinged
4 years ago. Holy shit.
Yeah, it fucking was. It was Unhinged. It makes sense. That song does have an acoustic guitar on it, but I would have thought it would have been like Burning Sand or That's on You or something like that. Either way, after that was finished, I had a lot of time to kill, but I ended up just going for a meal at the Vic on the Park because that was right next to the Factory Theatre, where I finally got to see the man of sex himself, Donny Benet.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that was the most cold out I've ever been in a show, where he had like this little monologue about boldness, and he goes like, "Who here is bold?" And only a couple people put their hands up, and he goes, "I see a lot of people with hats on indoors."
Did you reach out and touch?
He didn't play that song.
Damn.
He mostly played it from the new album, which is fine. There's some good stuff on there. We got the first 3 songs only from Mr. Experience. So we got Mr. Experience, Moving Up, and Second Dinner.
Of course. So
We didn't get. I was hoping for either Reach Out or Girl of My Dreams.
That'd be fair.
We didn't get those, unfortunately. Yeah, we didn't get those, unfortunately, but it is what it is. But I think probably like the most Dominic moment out of all that was the encore, and he played lead piano.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not really anything too special, that set, but it was, he's a good performer. It's really nice. He talks to the crowd. He's a very lovely guy. He specifically put on his pricing selfies $0. It's just basically like hey, if you want to come up and have a selfie, just go ahead and ask, and that's all you got to do. Which I think is really, really cool to like point that out, because there's some people. I didn't, because I was feeling a bit sick by the end of the day, so I just wanted to get home. That, and I don't take selfies.
Fair enough.
And then continuing on with this with this week's episode and stuff that I picked, I saw Freezer at Good Space the day after, which had Doris opening, which was their first New South Wales show since putting up the album. They had been touring. I think they played in Melbourne and Canberra, and Canberra's ACT. I mean, I guess it's in New South Wales, it covers it, but in Canberra would be pissed if you called it New South Wales, and fairly so. That one was eventful.
Yeah.
The fire alarm went off because somebody was smoking indoors, and the staff told a couple people to suck their cock and balls. That paraphrasing. There was a lot of just fighting, but like arguments between the patrons and the staff at that one, and enough of the members were moshing very hard that the staff didn't like. I think they might be barred from playing there again.
For Doris, or just Freezer in general.
I think all of them.
Damn.
There wasn't really anybody there that I could say like, oh no, they were innocent. But I mean, when when the staff starts antagonizing the crowd, even if the crowd started it, if the staff's gonna like antagonize, what do you expect the fucking crowd to do back?
Also, like, it's a concert venue.
It's not a hotel. No, it's a hotel.
Oh, it's a hotel. Damn.
Yeah, like a pub. There's a little music space that they have there, but it hosts like 50 people at most.
Okay, so there's no formal training. Got it.
Yeah, it sounds like shit in there as well. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It's just how it is. But you make with those type of shows, you absolutely make do. Doris is selling a lot of merch there to kind of fund, not just fund the United States trip, but also a couple of causes. They had like homemade, like crocheted some bags and hats, which were pretty cool. I didn't pick them up because they were expensive because they were fucking homemade.
Yeah.
And it's crochet, it's fairly so. I just didn't have the money to pay to spend on something I wasn't ever going to use. Good gig. Then I came down with the common cold for a week, so that was fun. Don't ever do that. I say the tricks, specifically
Tricks. Don't do that, Tricks.
Yeah.
I can go pretty quickly now for the rest of this, and we'll get on to the actual albums, because there isn't too much eventful in this. Saw the Getaway Plan at Crowbar. That was an old noughties post-hardcore band in Australia. They're kind of reunited now and did a kind of like reunion show, I guess, and they're probably going to be doing new music and stuff, so we'll see if they sound good or if they're just a band from the noughties that's trying to replicate what happened in the noughties. Probably going to be the second one, but I mean, the band themselves were pretty good, but the crowd were full of dickheads. Just happens. Day after, finally got to see Met Dog. They didn't get COVIDed out this time, and they did a free show at a pub in Newtown. Again, a pretty uneventful concert because the actual place itself is pretty small. Yeah, it was interesting to hear the songs live. They're very similar in a way, I guess. Like, I didn't think there was too much difference between studio and live. But, yeah, I mean, the place I was at, a couple free shows happened. It's pretty cool. I recommend. I wish I could talk more about it, but there wasn't really much that happened other than I heard Met Dog play their album.
I mean, you're kind of teeing it up for yourself in a way of like recovering them, then I'm going to see them, and then it's all synergizing.
Yeah, and then I was going to be like, okay, well, I'll see you tomorrow again as well, because you're playing in the afternoon, and then I can head over from that gig to the gig that I was going to afterwards. But unfortunately, the Lazy Thinking gig that I went to, it got a little bit delayed between sets, and I went to the guy at Mad Dog and said, hey, great set yesterday, but I just can't see you guys tonight because I had to fucking get over to the other gig. So that was unfortunate. I didn't get to see him twice, but that just happens. So Toke, this kind of a little avant-garde-ish, but it wasn't too weird. It was just like there was just a lot of key changes, I guess, in the music. I admired it. I wasn't so keen that I'm like interested in discovering more, but I'll probably be one of those artists that you'll probably think about in 5 years or something and go like, oh yeah, that was cool. So on your Toke, you did a good set. You ended up getting the headlining part for that because I saw free sets of that show. So if that doesn't count as a gig, that's kind of piercing for me. I want to just highlight there was a band called Bunny Bear, and I didn't get the pun until they said it.
Oh.
Yeah, Bonnie Bear. Bunny Bear.
I didn't even get it until you just said it. So.
Yeah, it took me a while.
Is it
after that though? Oh, Trickster, yeah.
I just said I just was interjecting with a what year is it to show that I'm still somewhat cognizant.
Oof.
2019 Tricks.
And
where everything started.
After that, gig 74, I went to Narrowhead, and that was a part of they were part of the new wave of emo, shoegaze, hardcore that's coming around, in that kind of all line, I guess. The openers were Mayflower and Dead Shows who I've seen to have gotten on their good side just by giving the drummer a plushie. Very nice people. They're the most adorable band.
You're really good at doing that.
They played the Basement cover. Yeah, I'm really good. Well, that was from the Dear Seattle show. I didn't give them another plushie.
Wow. Well, you're really good at charming people
I'm not.
by doing that stuff.
Yeah, apparently, I'm telling people if you want to hit it up with girls, all you got to do is hold a plushie at a gig, and 10% of them will say, "Oh, that's cute," which is more than the 0% that will talk to you anyway. But I'm just
Listen
anyway.
up, gamers.
Yeah, Narrowhead probably sold like 40% of the tickets that they could have. It was definitely undersold because they had the Curtain of Doom up.
Oh.
Oh.
And yet that mosh was fucking insane. There was no side to the mosh. You were either on the balcony part or you were in the mosh. No in between. If you were getting a drink, you were in the mosh. And I still don't even really know a Narrowhead song.
Sounds like a band you
I was
gotta
kind of
listen to
there
at
because
some
I'm
point.
like, yeah, so I kind of was just like, yeah, I'll probably enjoy this. So I went, and I enjoyed it. And I think they will probably come again because the band seemed to be really into it. Some kid was getting kicked out, and the singer just had to go at security saying, bring that fucking kid back inside. We had our own Against Me live album moment.
Yeah. Love when the music people get in on it too. Just like, fuck you, bring him back in.
Yeah, basically. Awesome gig, recommended. And now for the finale of this little segment, and I'll try and remember that this is where I'm up to. I got to see 1300, a band that I've been meaning to cover on this podcast at some point. They're a Sydney-based rap collective, or like group, I guess, where they are. I believe they're all South Korean,
Oh,
like
interesting.
as their ancestry. I don't know if I pronounced that word correctly. And they got a very like poppy sound, like a very like clubby type of sound to some of their tracks, and then others are pretty like, they got some interesting production that actually happens with the beats that they're rapping behind, and they rap in both Korean and English. So it just sounds like K-pop, and it basically is, but it's good. And the openers for that were other bands that I had seen previously. Before I did an Atlantis, I saw open for Royal Otis last year. Friday, I saw open for Paris, Texas earlier this year. They're both really talented. They're kind of like more R&B than they are rap. Although Friday kind of has some like block party vibes in part of his set. I fuck with it. It was a good gig. At the end, 1300 threw out a bunch of CDs into the mosh instead of T-shirts. I didn't get one. It didn't throw to me. But there was a lot of young people there. Like it was 18 plus, but it was like a bunch of like 18 and 19-year-olds.
Heavily on the 18.
And some of them apparently, apparently some of them went to every gig that they did for this tour. And it was all around the east coast of Australia, so they would have gone to Melbourne and Brisbane, I think. Did it happen in Adelaide? I'm going to go check this now, actually. 1300 George tour.
Music stands, they really get around and see their bands.
My friend who went to the Brisbane show apparently said there was somebody who was on the I don't think they went to the Perth show, but I think they went to all the East Coast shows, which that was Brisbane, Melbourne, and Sydney. And apparently there was somebody who was on a Discord call the whole time, including when they like met 1300.
Oh.
Because he'd met up with some people from the 1300 Discord, because he's like, oh yeah, I'll happily meet up with people at gigs and stuff like that. And then he got a shell shock because they were all basically like 19 or 18-year-olds.
Okay. So he was older then?
Yeah, or he was around our age.
Got it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So was this gig 76 or 75?
That was 75. 76 is where I'm up to, and that was the last gig I saw. That was when I flew up to Brisbane after 4 hours of sleep after the 1300, which I seem to be good at doing that every time I'm at Manning Bar. Is that, oh yeah, now that I've finished my gig at Manning Bar, I've got a fucking trip to Brisbane. Manning Bar is so shit that I'm flying to Brisbane every time. It's not that bad of a venue. But I saw Hockey Dad because I thought I was going to miss them in Sydney. I'm no longer missing them in Sydney, but I already had the tickets to Brisbane, so I figured may as well go to Brisbane.
Fair enough.
And saw Hockey Dad. They toured the new album. They had Military Gun open, which is their debut Australian show. It was supposed to be their Gold Coast show was just their debut, but they cancelled that, and still very unsure why they cancelled that, because not sure if it was like ticket sales or if there actually was someone sick or what it was. But yeah, they performed and they were fine at the Brisbane show, and the crowd was 99% Hockey Dad fans that didn't know Military Gun. It was definitely a crossover that didn't exist, because the only reason why they are is that Hockey Dad are fans of hardcore, but a lot of fans of Hockey Dad aren't. You know, and so to the credit to a lot of these Hockey Dad fans, these young ones, they gave it a go. They weren't booing. They were trying to get into it. A lot of them couldn't. The pit was non-existent, but there were a lot of them that could. And you know, I'm not going to act like everybody at the Hockey Dad show knew gig etiquette. There were definitely a lot of people who needed to shut the fuck up.
They're just used to being in their cars and honking.
Basically, yeah. But no, they're just, I don't know. If it wasn't a song they cared about or an artist they cared about, some of these people, they just keep shouting with their friends, talking and laughing. It's like, fuck off, other people trying to listen to the band that's playing right now.
I'm just here to see Hockey Dad. Chill out, man.
Yeah, there are some people who had that mentality, which I still think is like, go fuck yourself. But it's what it is. It's what it is. But yeah, Hockey Dad were great. They played 7 songs from the new album, and we will talk about that album today.
We will talk about
that. In fact, we could probably talk. We could talk about it right now if we want a good segue, because that's the end of the 76. It's been a very uneventful, admittedly. Outside, I think Doris was probably, or Doris Teresa, sorry, was the most eventful show out of all of them. But you know, I figured catch it up to where it is right now, so that when I do the next one, I'm not doing that fucking gig roundup for nothing, you know.
Yeah. So Hockey Dad.
So Hockey Dad.
Rebuild, Repeat.
All right. So Rebuild, Repeat is the 4th album from Wollongong surf rock duo Hockey Dad. I have been a fan of Hockey Dad since around 2016 when Baronia was released, and I listened to that. I discovered them for a version, and then kind of listened to the album and enjoyed it, and then have mostly fallen in love since Blend In. Well, Primarily Feeling, I guess the single before leading into the album was where I'm like, yeah, I understand. And then obviously the love's continued. And it's been a while, yeah. It's been a while since Brain Candy, which was my favorite album of 2020. We could probably argue that it's not actually the best creative album of 2020, but it's 2020, so I would always defend picking my favorite band as my favorite album that year.
That's fair.
And I still like that album. I still like Brain Candy quite a lot. I think there's some creative moments that they're done without really losing their sound. I think Itch is still a very incredible building up track, a slow burner. And this is definitely a sound change. We had Tease the Cross drop in 2022, and that's not on this album at all. And then we got the first single from it last year, We Still Have Room, which I did fuck with that single, even though it is quite a bit of a sound change. In fact, if this album dropped after Baronia, you would kind of confuse yourself if this was the same band, because they've kind of really started to shift away a lot from the surf rock sound. Like, it's still there, but it's not that traditional surf rock sound that they started with.
Yeah, but yeah. I mean, like, does that matter anymore? It's just something like,
no, I'm not saying it as it is. I'm saying I'm not doing this in a whole, like, I'm not doing it in either a criticism or a praising. It's more just a noticing that they've drifted away from there now.
Sure.
Like, it still exists. It's less traditionalist with the surf rock sound.
I know in the Apple summary of the album, they were talking about really trying to like channel their emotions and like kind of let a song be a song. Don't try to make it more of like a Hockey Dad thing, but if it's gonna be emotional, let it be that. And I think that ultimately led to something that felt more honest and more, to me, more interesting as someone who's liked Hockey Dad but has never, like, you know, fallen in love like you have. I think Hockey Dad is probably the best example of a cheese sandwich band that there is. And I think, you know, the vocalist is really pretty. Some of the best vocals. But, like, That's a band that I will always put on, I will always listen to, but it'll never internalize. And I think this is the one that has the best chance so far. And Brain Candy before was really good and was really getting into it for me, but this is even better.
Mhm.
Well, I'm still not quite sure exactly where I put this in rankings for Hockey Dad albums, because I am, you know how you were trying to remove that attachment of what they sounded like with rave tapes to the new album.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I kind of feel like I'm on this album. Like, I appreciate a lot of the songs that are happening on this, but I'm not sure how I treat this as an album compared to just Hockey Dad's discography. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
But I mean, we're here to treat it as an album, and we'll be treating it as an album. So I'll kind of randomly, I guess I wasn't expecting to do this, but I think I'm just not gonna talk about Hockey Dad's prior discography for the rest of talking about this, because I feel like it's gonna just make me kind of get stuck in a pointless loop, you know.
Well, that's on you.
That's on you. That was one of the songs they played live. They played Base Camp, Still Have Room, Safety Pin. Unsurprisingly, those were all the singles. Wreck and Ruin, which was the one that was, the highlight when you push out the into Spotify to add onto the playlists. That's on You, Unhinged, and Road Signs. I was surprised they didn't play Backup Plan after they played it at the acoustic show. That was the only one that they didn't. I thought Steven might get a bit of a play. I'm not surprised that Burning Sand didn't, because there's not really much enjoyment you can get live out of that one.
I would like to see Dancing on the Other Hand, personally, but...
I would have liked it. I think Hockey Dad does continue a trend. I know I said I wasn't going to do anything with albums, but I'll do one. They do historically have really good closes.
Well, I always go back to, like...
Yeah.
Even if they're not big, like, grand moments, they just have songs that stand out as a closer.
For me, it's always like, where does Billy stand out the most? Where do the vocals really get you? And I think Dancing on the Other Hand is a really good one. Wreck and Ruin has some really fun stuff in it. And then you get the songs like Safety Pin and That's On You. They're just catchy. Road Signs is kind of like their bigger emotional tug moment, and that was interesting in itself. But like, I'm just kind of here for Billy and just seeing what Billy can do vocally.
Yeah, I think there is a bit of a I'm more of a highlight of Billy's vocals this album, especially when the production's not so, I guess, fuzzy on the instrumentations these days anymore. I mean, Brain Candy, I guess, probably had a bit of the fuzz in some of its songs, and
I'm stupid.
This was a really clean.
It's Zach, that's the singer. Why am I saying Billy?
Yeah, I probably got lost in that as well. Yeah, Billy's the drummer, Zach's the singer. I should remember all this stuff. Sometimes, you just agree when somebody's saying something so confidently, you know?
My brain is so fried right now that I just took it at face value, even though I also knew.
Yeah, we all knew. We're just all idiots. It's not even a blame on the colds or anything like that. We're just dumb. But yeah, it's very clean, this album. Yes. And I don't mind that, actually. I do like hearing, I guess, what is a more mature output from the band. And there are definitely moments on this which are radio friendly. That's going to be how I put it. Base Camp is 100% a radio song.
Base Camp is what they play in the doctor's office waiting room when you're trying to get your medical card.
That's fair. That's fair. And I say this loving Base Camp.
I want to get higher.
Meanwhile,
it's probably the most stereotypical song, but I do love it. It is catchy.
I just see like Wreck and Ruin being on like some kind of Spotify algorithm where it's like new artists coming to you, Hockey Dad, Wreck and Ruin. Like it's that alt sound that is just nice to hear. Unlike a lot of it, it's it doesn't sound too clinical, doesn't sound too like grown in a lab or anything weird like that. It's very genuine and very is what it is.
Yeah, like I was trying to be careful with the words because I don't think this is like, you know how I hate albums that sound like it's made in a focus group. I don't think it's that. I think there is, there were definitely intentions for some of the songs that are written on here, just how they sound, that it is to try and get a radio hit with them, and this is their job. They're gonna make money.
Yeah.
So I don't blame artists that do that. As long as the songs still sound good, I'll be fine, and that's what I feel with this album. Like, it does feel a lot like these songs are written specifically, or not specifically. That's a bit far, but they are written to try and get all over the radio on purpose.
I mean, that was the goal
But
for so long as it is.
Yeah, I mean, that's, many artists do that. But I like a lot of these songs still, despite that. There's a lot of it's a very catchy album, surprisingly, and I guess the only song that I would say doesn't really or the only song I guess that has those kind of like non-very standard structure is Still Have Room, and it's still not that crazy with structure. But I guess even that one's still got a lot of catchy moments that happen in it. I mean, Still Have Room itself is or Still Have Room Left in My Heart for You is said enough times in there. So it's not like this is an album with no choruses or shit. I mean, the outro's the fucking highlight of that song.
Yeah. I'm curious what the album art's trying to get at here, where it's very industrial, pollution, smog.
I don't know still.
It's
I
not.
really don't know.
It's not everything else they've done, that's for sure. Is it a reaction to the car tour?
Well, that wasn't even a tour. That was just one show.
Yeah. In my head,
that was during. I mean, that was during a time. Yeah, well, they couldn't leave the state.
I know. Yeah, like Brain Candy was like a very like specific art style that was catered to them. It felt like Blend In was very much that just photo with filter.
Yeah, the album art for this doesn't really fit the art that the singles had as well. I feel like the single art was very minimalistic, and I guess this is just a photo and the logo.
And the words
so
are
it's
in there
not like
a little bit, but
yeah. I mean, it's the same kind of logo that happens on it, but like the single arts would just literally be a color, and then the logo on top.
One is Still Have Room is green, Base Camp is purple, and Safety Pin is blue. And they're very muted and drab colors.
Yeah, so I guess in that sense, it's not like this is an absolutely colorful album art.
Or are they gasoline colors?
Maybe. I don't know. I should have asked.
Yeah, you see
they were doing a bit of questions at the end of the
all that shit in it.
Yeah.
We had the chance to ask questions at the end of Hockey Dad, but me and my brother just showed them the picture of the person mushing with the garbage bin at the bushfire show.
More man should do Q&As.
Worth it.
That sounds great.
Yeah, well, it was at the signing, so it was basically just like, if anyone has a question, feel free to ask, or like do it once you get the stuff. My brother didn't even get a Hockey Dad album signed; he got a You're My CD signed by them. Yeah, I mean, I'm not too much of a fan of Burning Sand. I feel like when they go that slow and that nothing, it just feels a bit pointless. I mean, it's done better on Dancing on the Other Hand.
I guess.
To do the slow song, like it's, they obviously are a bit slower on this album with some of these songs, but I just find that song it's just 2 minutes that exists.
I don't remember it right now, but I also remember liking it okay. Like, I don't know. It's
not hate. It's not hateable, but it's just nothing.
You could lop it out. It really wouldn't.
That's just how I feel. Yeah.
I mean, I guess if we're going from Wreck and Ruin right into That's On You, those are two really catchy songs back to back, which could really work, but I do like there is something a little bit separating them, I guess. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I just would have preferred to hear them try something else around that time, I guess. I wouldn't go from Wreck and Ruin straight into That's On You. I don't know. I mean, I don't make albums out of quality, so my word only means as much as it does, but yeah, I mean, it's an album that I think over time, over the rest of this year, will show how much I'm listening into it, and that will probably be when I have a better judgment. and I'm still kind of processing my actual real thoughts on it. I still like the songs stand out because I'm a Hockey Dad fan, to simply put. I knew enough of the words by the time that they had played it live. I think the singles are all the highlights. Well, I mean, Safety Pin probably I'd prefer something like That's On You or Road Signs too, but I'd still do like Safety Pin as a song. It is a cute little ditty, I guess. But I feel like it peaked at Base Camp and Still Have Room.
I mean,
Even though Base Camp's probably it's got that that simple don't use actual words as the chorus so people can sing along kind of thing. But it's a fun song. I like it. It's an earworm, I guess.
I feel like this album is more of that. Slower, more earwormy, and just kind of like trying to find honesty and emotion that's not just surf rock over and over and over. Because I'm sure doing this for over a decade, you need to change it up.
If they're gonna make memorable songs at this point, they can't just repeat what they've already done because people are just going to go to what they've already done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there are moments on here which time will see how does it hold up in Hockey Dad's discography. I'm not fucking with this as much as I did with Brain Candy or Blend In at the moment.
Brain Candy was fun.
But yeah, I know. So I said I fucked with those albums. And I still do. But I haven't listened to them as much as I thought I would. Maybe I'm just growing out of surf rock. Maybe it's the fact that when I went into a sex shop and somebody carded me because I wore a Hockey Dad jumper, that's making me think I'm too old for them.
Or maybe
that is a real story, by the way.
That's very funny. Maybe
he specifically said, "I haven't seen anyone over the age of 18 that's a fan of Hockey Dad." I was like,
Well, you know what? It's okay for you to like Hockey Dad as much because you were there years ago when you were 18.
I was there, man. I was there.
So they're 15.
I would have been like, I might have actually been like 17 still technically when I discovered that.
Wow, even ahead of the curve.
Oh, yeah. Fuck me. But yeah, I mean, this will obviously be in my rotation by the end of the year because of my my biases, and there are moments on this that I do love. I do think they do some slow burners well. I think when their songs are just slow and they don't have any kind of momentum to them, it doesn't really work. Eggshells is kind of the exception, just mostly because of that bass line, which Trix is not going to talk, but she will 100% agree with. Not Trix will talk.
Yeah, Eggshells is great.
Yeah, it definitely got overshadowed by my other pick this week.
I mean, you say so. I don't know.
Yeah, you say so.
I'm talking about my own listens here. I don't give a shit what you two think.
Fair enough.
Looking at us defending Hockey Dad against you. Your tires popped? What?
Favorites, least favorites?
My sinuses popped. Just heads up, in 15 minutes I'm taking Sudafed and NyQuil, and if I pass out, I pass out.
Oh, the anniversary show.
Yeah.
I quite like Safety Pin, Unhinged, Road Signs. Dancing on the Other Hand's pretty fun. That's On You is pretty catchy. Some of the other ones are really catchy. I guess Burning Sand is probably your least favorite. I also don't remember Backup Plan that much.
Favorites: Base Camp, Still Have Room, Unhinged. Seething, I like the kind of heavier chorus that happens in there, which I would have thought they would have played that one live, but they didn't. Oh well. Road Signs as well, that they're kind of proper slow burner. Yeah, Burning Sand is their is the least favorite of this. Backup Plan is kind of very similar, but I think it's just a bit cuter than Burning Sand.
Favorites for me are, I just had it up. Base Camp, Still Have Room, and Unhinged. No real least favorites.
All right. So before Trix falls into NyQuil coma, let's talk about Nine Inch Nails. I was gonna save it for last,
Yeah,
but
that's
here we are.
no. Let's get Trick saying some words. 'Cause
Nails.
Pretty Hate Machine. Do you want to talk Trix, or do you want me to talk about it?
Sure, I'll talk about it. I picked this album purely because I haven't really listened to much Nine Inch Nails, and I thought it'd be interesting just to take a look at them. The only thing I really know Trent Reznor from is Quake soundtrack, and I quite enjoyed his instrumentation on that, and I just wanted to listen to more of that.
All right. I guess I'll say my piece on this. This was a huge album for me in college, like the early years of college. I listened to this a ton because I was, just in the car a lot back then, driving to school, just driving around, doing stuff. And ironically, at that time, this really worked really well for that stuff. And I just really love the instrumentation. I love the songs. Like, not everything's perfect here, but I was really into the sound, and I really, really got into this album more than, Downward Spiral, Fragile, everything else. Like, this was the one for me. I'm very happy it's here.
I'll say my piece as well, because this is actually the first time I've listened to this album in full. I believe I've only heard Head Like a Hole before. I knew enough Nine Inch Nails songs when I was a kid. Can't tell you I listened to full albums when I was a kid. I've definitely listened to the Downward Spiral since, and I do appreciate it. I've never been so big into Nine Inch Nails though that I've known an album back to front. So yeah, this is the first time properly listening to this album. It's also worth mentioning there is apparently a remastered version which sounds a lot different. We didn't cover that. We just covered the original version from what I believe.
I think that might have been the one that I covered
And-
because that's just the one that I have.
And I'll say this by prefacing that I do enjoy this album because Trent Reznor is a very interesting artist. I guess is the best way to put it, just musically. But you can really fucking tell the New Order influence on this album.
Yeah.
I guess I
Because
gotta
it
listen.
sounded a lot like Power, Corruption, and Lies.
I guess I gotta really listen to the original version because this is the remaster is the version that I know the best. Interesting. Okay, but yeah, no. There's just a lot of great moments, a lot of great instrumentation, a lot of great just like stuff happening. Like it also feels like a first album too, so it's a little bit weird, a little bit like you're trying, buddy, kind of thing too, which is fun. But I was listening to this again over the week, delivering food. My God, that's not an album to listen to when you're in the middle of the woods.
Oof.
I don't envy that.
But more so, like as Nine Inch Nails is a band that's more commonly associated with goth or alternative kind of thing. I mean,
Industrial is really the one.
yeah, industrial kind of the main big one, and this is definitely that industrial. But stuff like Downward Spiral is definitely associated more with that whole kind of goth, more gothic, I guess. It's not quite Cure levels, but there's definitely crossover.
It's more transgressive than goth, in that it really is like, this is the real shit, man. This is real life. We're all fucked up and drug addicts.
I really didn't expect, I guess, how clubby this album sounded. It's not like it's a club album. You wouldn't put this on in a club.
I mean, Head Like a Hole would go pretty hard.
That one probably would, yeah. You put it on an emo night. With standard EDM clubs these days, you wouldn't put this on.
If you took All Meaning Out of Terrible Lie and just made it a song that would play at the club, people would go for it.
Yeah. And I fucked with it whilst I was listening, but I can't say I've come out of it thinking about it too much or caring too much. It's enjoyable whilst it's on, but I'm not so keen into it, which I kind of thought I would be more into it as a full album, but I'm just not.
That's fair.
I don't know, just Yeah, it just didn't stick with me as much as I thought it would, and that's kind of where I'm at on this album. I really want to say more, but I can't.
I'm guessing any of you listened to the
Honestly,
Queen cover?
The what, sir?
The Queen cover?
Queen cover.
The Cream cover. Which one was that again?
So in the remaster version, the last song is Get Down, Make Love.
Ah, well, no, that wasn't in the version I listened to.
Let me check real quick.
I was like, was there a Cream cover I missed? But yes, it is in the remastered on Spotify, but it's not on the original.
Got it.
Same here. I only listened up to Ring Finger.
I think Get Down, Make Love really makes it a better ending to the album. It's definitely a really interesting take on a Queen song. It's a great example of an artist adapting a song completely versus just doing the cover. It gets really into like, oh, this is really, sexy and pornographic stuff. So it's like, okay, he's really exploring those themes heavily.
I find that funny because then the next album, I know the remaster comes out later, but then the next album is the one that has the song that closes it, which is more famous with someone else doing it.
Yes, and this cover was a B-side to Sin as a single, so it existed at the time.
Ah, yeah, fair enough.
I do think it's very funny that the singles were Down in It, Head Like a Hole, and Sin. Those are really weird choices, I feel like.
I mean, I like Sin.
But Down in It is the debut single.
Song I do outside of the album.
What's that, Jax? I'm sorry.
Sin is actually like the song I knew outside of this album going into it. Like one of the songs I knew. It was like Sin and Head Like a Hole.
Yeah.
Was it used somewhere? It probably was.
It might have been.
I'm checking the Wikipedia. Let's see. I mean, it seems to be released after the album was, because the album was released in 1989 and Sin was released in 1990. In fact, yep. So Down in It was the only song that was released before the album. Where was it?
I'd say that's.
I can't see where it's being used.
And I think Down in It's like the weird one out because it's more of like a not a rap song, but kind of a rap song.
Yeah.
Apparently, Sin's just their 9th most played live song.
Wow.
So it's just loved by fans.
I mean, Sin goes hard, so. But Down in It is just like it's syncopated singing, talking. Like, is Trent Reznor actually a good singer? But he uses his voice to good effect.
I'm actually now distracted looking to see what the most popular song played is live. I have a feeling it just won't be closer.
Oh, it's probably closer.
So I'm going to be... Well, how much is Closer been played? It's not, I can tell you that, because currently March of the Pigs is being that.
Interesting.
Let's see if I can get just what the song statistics in the most played. Where can I see that? Because it's so fucking unintuitive to read. Goddamn.
If we ever do Downward Spiral, I do want to do the demos because some of the
You're
demos.
right there, Trix. You're just moaning. Holy shit.
Sorry, I'm leaning back and just all of my joints are popping. It's been a long day for me. I had
second there. Second there, it sounded like you were fucking coming on the podcast.
It's Get Down, Make Love all over again.
Basically,
Head Like a Hole is number 1.
I mean, okay.
965 on setlist.fm. Now, this is only setlist.fm. It's not the actual number. But so far, Hurt's been played more than Closer.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, maybe Closer just had its moment, and it's not as well known or well liked as much now. Everyone knows Closer.
Oh, the only person that it matters that likes the songs is Trent Reznor, if he wants to play it or not.
Sure, yeah.
Number 2 is Wish.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that one to be so high up.
But there are some really awesome, like, just tones and sounds on this album that really tickle the brain really good. Like that, like, low drum beat. That's kind of I Want To, and that's what I get. Oh, that shit sounds.
His ability to make, I think it's a real electric bass sound like a MIDI bass is impressive.
Mm-hmm. Or like,
I've always been a fan of just.
Go ahead.
I said my piece about.
No, you cut out.
Yeah, you cut out.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm in my apartment because I'm feeling like shit and I don't feel like getting eaten by mosquitoes. But I've always been a fan of like that MIDI bass sound.
Yes, and how hard it goes, and something I can never have.
Yeah.
Bow, 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 bow.
Ow, fuck.
Oh yeah. As a
Fuck,
first
Monty.
as a first album for a project like this, it definitely sets the tone. It definitely gives like a basic blueprint of what he's trying to do. Obviously, I think Downward Spiral codifies it more, but like this on its own is awesome. I think like it's imperfect, but that makes it interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed listening to. I agree. The instrumentation was interesting, even if I did find it to be very like similar to sounds that we covered not too long ago. So I guess that's kind of why I was thinking of that, thinking specifically of New Order.
Yeah,
I do agree. This is a very fantastic debut for an artist, especially which this is very late '80s, started in '90s and coming out, and it is still in its own right, uniquely Nine Inch Nails, even if you can still hear the inspirations.
yes.
I think Trent Reznor's vocals do help for that as well. He has a very Trent Reznor's vocals have a very emotional weight to them, which I'd like to always say tug at this whole like, oh, what hurt you, but I can't also lie. Sometimes it does just feel a bit just very angry at the world for no reason in his vocal stylings. Which, that's the aesthetic of Nine Inch Nails anyway, so it's not like we're all pretending it's something else. Yeah, the instrumentation was still interesting.
Yeah.
I did like the album. I probably would have preferred to have listened to both the remastered and this if I knew that they both existed, and then
I completely
kind
forgot.
of could have compared it, but I didn't really know until too late anyway. So for those who are disappointed that we didn't do that, well, Dominic will probably pick it in 2 months anyway.
Yeah.
And I will listen to the original version instead as a swapsies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am taking my NyQuil right now. I will hopefully be cognizant for at least another hour.
You might want to prepare your picks or whatever if you aren't, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, if you want to do favorites, least favorites, I'm down. I love Head Like a Hole. Terrible Line might be my favorite. That at the end is so fucking good. I also really like Sin. That's what I get. Get Down Like Love. Oh, they're all pretty good. I think the only time in Ring Finger is where it kind of slows down a bit, and that's my least favorite part of the album. Basically, the end.
I'll agree with least favorite being Ring Finger. I think my favorite's Head Like a Hole, and that's what I get.
Yeah, least favorite Ring Finger. Favorites are Head Like a Hole and Terrible Lie.
Terrible Lie.
And Sanctified. And Sanctify.
Yeah. Alright, that leaves my picks. A band that I saw tour with Your Arms Are My Cocoon a month ago, and a band that's touring with them now. It's Awake But Still in Bed and Flyover States. And of course, Flyover States is just a heavier version of Hey I Love You. You just swap out a bassist.
And also, For Your Health has 2 songs in this.
Yes, For Your Health as well.
And they're my favorite parts of the split.
They have like that older sound, like the Naughties kind of emo sound, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, I think it probably just stood out a bit more out of all this, because Flyover States and Awake But Still in Bed do have some very similar sounds going on, even if vocally they're completely different.
I mean, Awake But Still in Bed, I think, has a degree of like recognizability, like
yeah,
like you know whose vocals those are. I think Flyover State sounds a little bit more not pedestrian, but journeyman in a way of like they do cycle through a few different things, but like I would not peg that as the same person that does "Hey, I Love You" unless I knew it.
I'll put it this way onto the songs from the Awake But Still in Bed EPs. Because I won't really talk too much about For Your Health because it's not really why it's been covered, but I do appreciate the sound that's happening on there. I think they're it's not standing out in this whole "oh shit, you must listen, this is so unique," but they are, it's a really nice a nice couple songs. It more follows, I guess, it more follows the Origami Angel style of the Fifth Wave than it does the Awake But Still in Bed side.
Yeah,
They do have an album called Death of Spring, which I think that's supposed to reference Rites of Spring.
I would imagine so.
I think that's actually a split album as well, surprisingly as well. It's only 20 minutes, so it gets into an EP. I would like to listen to that because I think that one is the one that got a bit more hype for their project, but we'll probably cover that at a later point anyway. So yeah, that's the For Your Health mentioned part. The Awake But Still in Bed EPs. I mean, the Stay Who You Are, I think, was just a bunch of leftovers. I think that's what they mentioned on it anyway. And the way that I kind of treat these as is more just Shannon going, "Hey, I'm still alive. Awake But Still in Bed is still a thing. Here's a couple of things I've been working on," and it's kind of like that because I feel the difference in quality between the albums and the EPs is night and day. Because the stuff on the album's just clear. And this isn't bad. That's the thing. Like, this is fine. But that's it. This is just fine. The stuff on the album for me is where it really.
Like, I'm not saying I love it, but
this is just this is personal difference, I guess. Then because I feel like there's songs like Opener or Far or Red Light or Floor, just picking up four random songs that I like a lot from both those albums. Those songs feel just so much more fleshed out, even if they're not like Floor is a very simpler track, all things considered.
Sure.
It all just feels a lot more finished and fleshed out than the songs I'm here do. And this is just listening to Awake But Still in Bed sound, which their sound is good, but it's not truly what makes them great. Because I just don't get those moments in these songs here that like stand out and you really make me want to listen to the song like all those other songs can do.
I guess for me,
like she was really good at writing those little parts of songs that just those little moments. I guess is the best way of putting it.
I've always liked Awake But Still in Bed stuff, but I always felt the albums were too bloated for me. Like there was just so much stuff in them that like the parts I liked were kind of counteracted by the stuff that I didn't really care about or didn't like as much. And so having something that is more centralized, just stuff that I like, is nice. Like having songs like Beauty or Mirrored and things like it, just those songs stand out to me a little bit more because they are the packages are just so small. It's like, here, just focus on these three, focus on these two. And I think that's what I needed personally as a person that likes Awake But Still in Bed, but never had the same penetration that you did. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, when you're listening to a band for the first time, it's a lot easier to get into them by singles than it is by a full album. That's the whole reason why singles are a thing.
Sure.
And I'm just, I guess, just talking about it in a way of, I mean, I think Awake But Still in Bed, the first time I listened to them, I probably listened to this album in full, like the debut album in full. So that's probably like a complete lie for me what I just said anyway. But on that, I just feel like what we're listening to here isn't a full collection, and that's what we're rating these at as anyway. And they're individual songs that don't really go anywhere. Whilst the stuff that we've listened to previously, that's where she's always shined a lot more. And just the natural progression of the songs would just have those more interesting moments that occur in them, or just how the album goes, a lot more happens. And yeah, I guess that's going to happen if you have a lot of songs on them. And Chaos Takes the Wheel and I Am a Passenger was a pretty long album. It was like 50 minutes or so, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty long.
All things considered, for what is basically a screamo record. Yes, there's indie alternative elements in it, but it's primarily screamo. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I still like it because I like her sound, but I find there's less to care about in these when it's just overshadowed by two really good albums. It's cool that I mean, I'd have to remember the message because I would have gotten a message on Bandcamp when she released the 2020 EP, which I think was like, was it 2020 or was it 2019?
It was 2020. It
was like it was Christmas 2020, wasn't it?
It was pretty
like
late.
around then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it wasn't exactly on Christmas. And I think the message was basically like, hey, I'm still alive. Because obviously it was fucking COVID. You weren't touring that much.
Right.
And like, here's a couple of songs that I've been working on. And, I'm working on
it was Christmas.
An LP2 or something like that. It was on Christmas?
Yes.
Oh, never mind. My guesses are geniuses.
It's a collection of songs written and recorded during the COVID-19 pandemic that don't fit on any of our upcoming releases.
Yeah, there you go. So it was outtakes. Yeah.
Those outtakes just came before everything else, which is kind of funny in a way.
Yeah. Because you never know if you change the album's direction or anything like that, I guess. But I guess she did know in the albums as it is out.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it was 3 years later, of course.
Oh, yeah.
I imagine there were probably some changes between these recordings and then. So I think there is a nice, strength and clarity of vision to at least be like, hey, these three, they didn't turn out like we thought they would fit or whatever. But we want to release them. Here they are.
Yeah, I mean, that's really all I can say about the awakebutstillinbed stuff. Trix, are you alive? Have you got anything to say?
He's muted right now.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was checking in with her.
Assuming Monty happened because that was the last thing we heard.
Yeah, good old Monty.
I forgot I was muted. I thought I was unmuted for all of that.
Trix had just said like 5 really funny jokes in a row, and they were all gone. And she was like, "Why aren't you laughing?"
I was fucking blowing them off.
Jeb Bush, please clap.
Like hacking off my ear. So.
Anyway, do you have
really
any thoughts?
I don't have much to say about Awake and Still in Bed.
Is it how you feel right now?
Yeah, that's basically what I am. My cat's sprinting all around my apartment, knocking shit over.
Give us a meow, Monty. Give us a take. Give us a hot take.
He's not in a meowing mood right now.
No, he's in a cat-like mood, which is annoyed the shit out of you. I love cats.
Yeah, he's got the zoomies right now. His pupils are the size of dinner plates.
Oh.
As a note, the Hymns for the Scorned, mastered by Jack Shirley.
Yeah, good old Mr. Shirley.
He's done everything. Hell Mode, The Wailer, The Grey in Between, Scadry.
He's carrying the fifth wave scene.
I think he did fucking Weekend Run Club too. I can't remember.
I don't really have a favorite or least favorite from all these because I guess my favorites are the For Your Help stuff. Just I guess it sounds the most different out of all of it. It's not really that I'm even that keen on it. It's just I appreciate it, I guess, a bit more. I felt like they were more fleshed out tracks.
I overall liked the For Your Health stuff more. I think, they were more fleshed out and a little more dynamic. But I did like the Stay Who You Are tracks as well. I thought they were nice. So I
didn't hate them. I just... Trix, any favorites, least favorites?
This is a blender in its purest form for me.
Now, Flyover States.
Yes, the other part of this.
Oh, real quick. Jack Shirley was mentioned for at least once for Weekend Run Club, so there was some involvement there. Anyway, go on.
Yes, this stood out a lot more than the Awake But Still in Bed stuff. I did not expect this from the Hey I Love You band.
No,
but that's probably because every time we've heard Fifth Wave band has done a side project, it's just been Cybergrind recently. So I guess when we had the band that's the closest to Cybergrind, of course it was going to go the other way.
And I saw them at the Blind Equation show, and it was both Hey I Love You and Flyover States being in that show. And it worked out pretty well.
That's cool.
This was the opener, and I was like, holy shit. This goes hard right away. So I'm here for it.
Yeah, I fuck with this. I like just math rocky screamo. That's basically what this is. Yeah, it feels like we've just got to listen to so much of it at this point.
Yeah,
it's both, the math rocky sound and the screamo sound. When we just go with this, it's like, okay, well, it's math rock and screamo, and I can't really tell you that this is like out of all these bands that are covering it, that unique. But there's not much bands doing it like at the moment anyway that we've covered. So it sounds still fresh enough for me.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna say that every song that they put out has been like standout 10 out of 10, but like it's an interesting sound, and they're putting out stuff pretty quickly.
Yeah, like I probably prefer it just because when I'm listening to studio works and stuff like that, I prefer hearing stuff that's a lot more unique,
Yeah.
I probably prefer the Hey I Love You project, but this, there's passion in this. It fucks the whole way through. Can't ever fault that. I appreciate it. I enjoy it.
You're saying something?
I'm still waiting for Hey I Love You to tour outside of US. Anyway, and maybe in 6 years, if they're still a band, we get another show. Probably not, but I'm hoping.
One can hope.
And if they do fly over states too, please, because I'd like to see this live. This would absolutely go hard live. I could see that.
I mean, again, if Awake But Still in Bed and Your Arms in My Cocoon can go to Poland and Germany, yes, Australia is farther and more expensive, but I don't think it's out of the question, especially since other ones have already been there.
Yeah.
We're just really hoping. Well, I mean, I think it was a lot more viable for them as well because they were doing the Asian leg as well, and it was a lot easier to go from Asia to Australia.
Very fair.
And then you can do. I think you can do some direct flights, I believe, from Australia to America, but obviously only the West Coast.
They're just very expensive.
Yeah, it's not cheap. That's why I'm also surprised that the next band we're covering did the East Coast, because that's even more expensive. But I ain't in charge of band's finances. That ain't for me to speculate. Yeah, I was also listening to another band, because I listened to all of this on flight to Brisbane.
Yeah.
And I listened to the new Oolong as well, which has a very similar sound. And this one, everything always overshadows something else. This one only got overshadowed by an album we weren't covering.
Happens.
So apologies on that. But that's just because it had a very similar sound to it as well. It was a lot more chaotic with its math rock.
I mean, everything for me got overshadowed this week because we did Head Like a Hole. Or we did a Pretty Hate Machine.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, it's a short mention, I guess, on this one. It's I guess more of a shout out by listening to this than it is really a full deep dive, because I don't know how to really deep dive into something that's basically the first 20 seconds of what you hear is what you hear for the full 8 minutes.
I mean, Anti-Aircraft teased it up.
20 seconds.
Ghosts kind of hits it somewhere. I don't know if it's out of the park yet, but it definitely scores something.
Oh yeah, I prefer the Ghost to Anti-Aircraft.
Yeah, and they're only like 7 months apart roughly, so they're doing it at a pretty good clip.
Yeah, especially, I mean, from memory as well, didn't the bassist from Hey I Love You recently have a kid?
Maybe that might be what it is.
I swear. So that might also be why Flyover States is a thing.
Yeah, well, they were both there at the show, so he's still doing stuff.
Yeah, well, they had the kid. They're not having it.
Sure. I mean, I'm sure it's always weird with
It's a little less risk to perform with your kid when you're not pregnant with them and already had them,
Yeah. Fair.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, meanwhile, we're still waiting for the "Hey, I Love You" sophomore album, which I think is coming. I think they've said it's coming.
Yeah, they'll definitely doing recordings just based off the Instagram stories I've seen. I'm waiting for it too.
I would have loved if they played Human.
Still one of the more unique bands out in the fifth wave scene at the moment. There's not really much that are doing it with the chiptune influence that isn't in cybergrind.
Yeah, that's the cool thing. That weird connection just goes further and deeper.
This is the cheese sandwich.
Yeah,
It's a good cheese sandwich though.
I would agree.
All right. I guess this brings us to the last one, doesn't it?
Doris Fortrees.
Yes.
At your business. At your service.
So, Newcastle-based
Indeed.
screamo slowcore band Doris. We covered them with the Birthday Cards EP last year. We covered that with Mouse, and I think we all kind of more gravitated towards the Mouse album, even though I did like the Doris EP.
I like the Doris EP, but yes.
Yeah, I think we all agreed the Mouse album was more of a highlight. And that's not going to happen again because Mouse have broken up. Zeke was in both those bands. So now Doris is obviously a lot more of a priority than Mouse will be. And we covered Doris again when we did the Lord Gladstone compilation, and I think that time they got a bit more of their of the favor in that, in which we preferred it to the whilst there were some interesting moments that happened from Freezer and Pictures of Yuki. I think we all preferred the Doris songs of that compilation.
Yeah.
And now the album is out. It's got the songs properly made, properly produced, and out there. We listened to half of this album, I guess, in its demo form, which I don't think we've actually listened to an album as a demo first. I think we've listened to songs. It is obviously Grief Eater. We've heard some of the moments as demos.
And we heard some of it beforehand too, like before it was out.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is interesting new material for us to kind of approach it from. I do think it kind of almost cheapens the blow a little bit, though.
In a way, yes, it did. But I'm just basically saying my piece about this at the moment, and if you two disagree, I just don't give a fuck. There is definitely issues with this album. I think some of the lyrics that they've ended up with scream a lot more angsty and what the hell and pretentious than they probably would have liked. I think the track listing is done in a wrong order here, and they could have easily have swapped around some of the songs, and it would have made this album flow a lot better. I think there are moments on this album in which they could have easily just changed how it ended it and themselves gone into songs better. I think they fumbled the flow in a way that they had a lot more of a sure thing into making this one big continuous album. And that being said, some of the songs on here are just, despite all those flaws, really fucking good. And I don't care if you two disagree, because I've been listening to them constantly for the past 3 weeks now. Like, that fucking outro to Fairfield is just, that's the dopamine hit.
Fairfield's pretty good. That's the 9-minute song that, when you get something like that, it usually impresses in some way.
Yeah, Fairfield's interesting.
I'm still a big fan of Holster. I think Holster is the biggest highlight here, and it's those lyrics that I do gravitate to. But
yeah, I think Holster is the one that's lyrically probably. Well, Holster and Bookshop are the ones that are lyrically the best.
It's just what grabs the attention.
Bookshop.
What was that?
What was that trick, sorry?
A Bookshop instrumentally, I think, has got to be my favorite.
God Made Me Special is pretty interesting as well. It's the songs from the demo that I quite like. It's everything else that I'm a little more iffy on. I Want to Grow is interesting. at some point just wasn't enough. It's interesting, but like I don't know. Like the beginning of the album, I don't think holds up as well.
Yeah, White Bull Terrier I like as a song, but I just don't know if it's the good opener for this album.
Quinn is
I feel
memorable.
like yeah, both Kryn and the Horse Race are kind of both songs that are trying to go back to the sounds that they had in Birthday Cards with that bit more indie rock influence, but it's not where they shine. I think the Horse Race is still a cool little tune. Kryn, lyrically, I guess, does try to catch some interest, but I don't think it's quite hitting.
What are the lyrics saying?
At some point, I just wasn't. I don't know what they're saying because her name isn't Kryn, it's Bronte, so she's got to be talking about someone else.
I thought it was something like my name.
But
was
she's
Quinn.
dead at the end of it.
I thought it was something like my name was Quinn and I use they. I could have sworn that's what it was. But then I really started to second guess myself at some point.
Let's see if the lyrics are on Bandcamp.
I don't think they're on Bandcamp, but you can read them in two formats. One, which is the post that they did on Instagram, which has them all, as I'm trying to talk in a way that still gets heard by everybody as I'm moving away and moving back, because I picked up the CD at the show, and that has the lyric sheet.
And I picked up the Ghost CD at the show. Shout out to that.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
While you're pulling that up, it's also worth mentioning that we didn't cover the Demo 2023 EP release they had on their Bandcamp, which has the other demos to this album on it.
Yeah, which is at some point it just wasn't enough, and I don't think White Bull Terrier is on there, but it could be.
White Bull Terrier it's White Bull Terrier, Horse Race, Fairfield, Holster, and it's someone just wasn't enough.
Yeah, so Kryn and I Want to Grow are the only ones that weren't ever released as demos.
Yeah.
And yeah, so where's the Kryn? My name is Kryn and I am dead. When I learn how to wave at the window instead of always passing through it, I have learnt who I am in front of these people. I wrote back to love them too. There's a ghost in this room. I close my eyes, but the light shines thorough. I've been small, and so have you. I hoped you'd hold me tight like you do. My name is Kryn, and I am dead. Before I learnt of my own skin, my name is Kryn, and I am dead.
Okay, not the song I thought it was at all.
That's the lyrics for it. Yeah.
I thought this was some kind of like just queer anthem, just sandwiched in the middle of everything else.
Yeah, that's more in Holster and God Made Me Special.
Yeah. But I mean, that goes to like,
I know,
not understanding lyrics.
And the song, which I think has the kind of more like really screams, I don't think these are actually about anything, and maybe it's, just a personal vent to put out, is I Want to Grow, which, I mean, at some point you do have to go and say, hey, we want to grow tall like a tree, as a lyric is a bit, what have you written? But if you ever see that song live, it goes really fucking hard.
How old?
Like they close it out, and it deserves to fucking be their closer, because holy fuck, like I shouldn't like that song. It's out of all of these songs, well, not out of all these songs, but like out of all the highlights, I feel it's the most like simplest, and they're really good when they just do that slow build ups of songs, and I guess this is an album that is quite surprisingly minimalistic.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, and how it sounds, especially for what is a pretty unique sound that they have going on. There's not really much bands blending slowcore and scrams as heavily as they do with both.
And they do it like they do the idea of it pretty well. It's just the songs themselves aren't fully there yet. Not all of them, anyway.
But I Want to Grow just fucking like it's one of those. It's got all these things that should make me not like the song, but it's just executed so well that I don't care anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can acknowledge all the faults that this album has, but I feel like they're still just executing everything with enough passion, and like this doesn't feel like shit that they're throwing out because they think people will like it. It feels like shit that they actually want to make.
How old do you think they are?
Oh, probably early 20s.
Because like listening to Zeke, it's like, are you just like 19 and this is all like a big deal for you? Is like I was kind of getting that vibe from it a little bit. Like
That probably is the case. I don't think they're that young, but there definitely is a youngness to the lyrics.
and the vocals too.
Yeah. And,
Mhm.
you know, that's going to be happening. I mean, I'm sure if you look at most bands when they had their first lyrics and stuff like that, you know, they're all pretty shit and stuff like that. And then bands mature, they learn more, they have different things go on and write about different things. And yeah, this is
I
in
am.
a point
I am
at
Israel's
some
son.
moments. This
Israel's
is
son. I am.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and that's the case. But what really draws, I guess, is just the way that it all comes together in the end. It just I don't want to use the term awful taste, but great execution, because I don't think it's even awful taste. I think it's just, you know, the highlight is the way that this is all executed. It could have easily have fallen apart if there wasn't so much passion in the vocals and the instrumentation, and having these big build ups and these big moments that come after just these. I mean, Fairfield I love as a track just because of its instrumentation, having that kind of haunting slowness and nothing to it. Like the use of silence in that track is really good. I don't know if they were purposely trying to go for the silence being used in that way, because it feels like they're kind of just are waiting for their instruments to finish playing the note and then continue on. It doesn't feel like they're trying to cut off the instrument at all, if you get what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of it's that kind of like eeriness, or like the surrealness that happens in instrumentation of like, have they just randomly finished playing here and then going back into it, and then those loud moments that end it after quite a lot of build up for it. It just pays off really well. I don't know. I'm probably saying this in a very shit way, but it's
No, I think it makes
really
sense.
cold right now.
And I think this is a great example of a band that would have come around to being really popular in the 90s if they had had the chance. I think this is a sound that would work really well back then.
Yeah.
I think like the real only part that I have a gripe with this album, like, because I can put aside a lot of the moments that I you can notice are flawed, but there's that thing of being flawed which makes it kind of more real, I guess. The only thing I really have a gripe with is the voicemail, and at some point it just wasn't enough. It just feels really out of place. It doesn't, and that shouldn't be a thing, because voicemails are like the most emo thing to put in.
Yeah, even For Your Hell had one, kind of. I don't know if it was a voicemail or just like a dictionary thing, but
yeah. This one screamed a bit too much like they were trying to screw some emotion out of the voicemail. It didn't feel too authentic.
It was also mixed really low, so it was harder to understand.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, it just wasn't enough. It's unfortunately going to be my least favorite from this. I think it's a song that's basically done better on God Made Me Special.
At some point, it just wasn't enough.
And, I mean, God Made Me Special, I think is a better live song as well. I think having the chorus in that in the studio is basically the same as the verse was. In live versions, it becomes a very loud, screaming outro, which I think highlights a lot more. But obviously, when you do it in a live show, you for a Scrams gig, you do have to have those kind of moments in there, because people aren't there for an acoustic show. Because I mean, even Your Arms turned Metamorphosis into that loud, explosive outro.
Yeah, but even then, Your Arms was more willing to do the acoustic moments and the choir things too.
Yeah.
We all sat there for those moments and listened to the track sometimes.
Bookshop is also, I think, a song that's a lot better hearing fully fleshed out now as well. The opening drums is just, I think Bookshop should have been the opener to this album, because I think it's the best example of what this album sounds like.
Sure.
I think it's also really interesting, just as it's kind of two parts of a song. Like it's 2.5-minute spoken outro, basically, over a very kind of ambient, droning instrumentation. And I feel like really kind of it kind of shows the slowcore that they bring to this album, whilst there's still like distorted scrams moments that they have in this as well. Like it's an interesting sound that they put onto this, and I would have one day I'm going to just like change the order myself to this album and listen to it that way and kind of confirm my theory of if this album would sound better if it was in a certain track listing, as Trix is currently just dying on here. But
Sorry.
I'm still
Yeah.
no, you're all good. Don't fucking worry. But despite all that, I've found myself listening to this album quite constantly over the past 3 weeks. It definitely hits an itch in the brain that I love with this type of sound. Fairfield, I Want to Grow, Bookshop, and Holster are all so like heavy on my rotation this year. I genuinely don't know how it's going to look at the end of the top 100 because this, at the end of my top 100, because I think they're all currently some of the best screamo songs in Australia.
Hell yeah.
No, I can't say it's the best screamo song that's come out in the whole fifth wave, but it is kind of up there with Fairfield and Holster. The outro to Holster is really good still. I think Holster being at the end was a right choice in the track listing.
Yeah, I think those two end the album really well.
Yeah, I think they got that right. I think they just didn't really start off this album too strong. It kind of more properly starts at Fairfield for me. I mean, I like the Horse Race and I like Right Bull Terrier. I think they're good songs. I just don't think they fit on this album so well.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I think ultimately for me,
That's really.
It's just that listening to the demos, I think, really made it hard to appreciate this on its own because I feel like everything or a lot of what was really special was in the demos. Like, yes, they're kind of redone and fleshed out, but if
there was a certain rawness to the demos, I will agree.
If the album was like genuinely, better on its own beyond the demos, that'd be a whole different story. But I feel like there's a similar enough power to them, and I think the other songs that aren't on those demos don't always hit as well. It's just kind of like, well, you listen to most of the important stuff here, and this is just an expanded version of that.
Yeah, look, I mean, in the end, I'm kind of seeing this as a really good collection of songs, more so as I am an album. Sure. And then when you are kind of comparing it as a collection of songs, now becomes, do you prefer it in this version or the demo version? And I think preferring the demo version to some of this is a valid take. I think I prefer it fleshed out as it is, but there is a certain sound with the kind of roughness that it has in the demo version that also really fits this, which I can understand appreciating more.
Rich, how do you feel?
I really don't have much to say about this, I'll be honest. I enjoyed it. It was interesting instrumentation, but my brain is too fried right now to form coherent sentences.
That is understandable.
You're doing just fine. Favorites.
It is almost 5 a.m. here. I am tripping off of NyQuil.
We're almost done.
Yeah, we're almost done.
I like Holster. I like God Made Me Special. Fairfield's pretty cool. My least favorite, it's either it's gonna be Quinn. It's catchy, but it sticks out weirdly in where it is in the album.
Yeah. Favorites. I mean, if I treat this as a collection of songs, there's a couple more that get added into, with the first two I think being still really good songs. But just in the context of an album, it's Fairfield. I like I Want to Grow. I think it actually fits after Fairfield, but I think that's also a moment in which they really could have just like been a little less afraid to have individual songs and kind of blend them together, because there's that droning sound at the end of Fairfield that kind of could easily match the start of I Want to Grow's like intro there, and it would have like been a perfect blend. There's a really good chance to do that, and I'm kind of still upset that they didn't do that. because then I think that's one of those moments in which you could have easily seen how this album could flow better.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of song flow, I think I Want to Grow fits fine after Fairfield. I like it as a song. There should be no reason that I like it as much as it is compared to what this album has to offer. Maybe it's just because I've seen it live a couple times and it's fucking awesome. That usually when that happens, Zeke just gives his guitar, gives it to one of the other bands that he knows or doing the scene, and then just starts stage diving while singing.
Yeah.
Absolutely recommend watching. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Bookshop as well, which I think should have been the openers of this album, but as it's standing in this album, it is one of the highlights by far. I think it definitely has Bronte more showing in her vocals, and I think she really shines on it. It shows that when she does shine, she can be quite emotional just with her vocals, and that's why I like that song quite a lot. And yeah, Holster is just probably one of the more captivating songs off this record. Least favorite, at some point it just wasn't enough. I feel like it's just done better, and God made me special, and its kind of existence in the album is kind of a little pointless, unfortunately.
All right. That brings us Tricks.
Favorites, Bookshop,
yeah.
no least favorite.
Then we go to
favorites, Bookshop, no least favorites.
Yeah. Then we go to ranking.
We got it.
Yeah.
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'll go first. Top of the list, Nine Inch Nails. Pretty Hate Machine is a classic for me. It's undoubtable that it's going to be number one. After that, I'm going to go Hockey Dad. And then this is the part where it gets hard, because I think I like the songs on Doris stuff, but I think the album itself is not very good because of what we listen to and when we listen to it. I think the demos that we listened to stole some of its thunder. And so after Hockey Dad, I'm going to go with Awake But Still in Bed. No, I'm going to Fly Over States and Awake But Still in Bed, and at the bottom is Doris.
Chicks, you want to go before the NyQuil kills you?
Yeah. Hold up. I'm just pulling up my list. At the bottom, we are gonna go with Awake But Still in Bed, Flyover States, Doris, Nine Inch Nails, Hockey Dad.
Fair enough. At the bottom, I'm going to put Awake But Still in Bed. And then I'm going to put Flyover States, because whilst I do enjoy it in full, I think just everything else that we cover on this week kind of wins over them, just because they all sound more unique in their sounds, and that's just kind of what tickles my brain a lot more, at least this week.
Yeah.
And this becomes a tough thing, because the Nine Inch Nails one is going to be the album I listen to the least going for it out of all three of these. So, I'll do the kind of controversial take, I guess, and put it there at number 3. So I'm debating between my own picks, and I put it up with both of these as albums. I still have my struggles, but I still have my loves, and the loves completely outweigh the struggles. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like I can't act like the struggles don't exist there. That being said, they'll probably both be in. Hockey Dad's actually going to join my seen 10 times list next week. So that'll be the first band I've ever seen. 10 times. And Doris I've seen 3 times, and I've fucked with it every time. So I wouldn't be surprised if they one day join the 10 times, because I want to see them every time I get a chance. They're fucking great. So, what do I prefer? The band that I've been standing the whole time, or the band that I'm probably going to stand? And I personally enjoy the Doris album more than Hockey Dad.
Wow. All right.
Just because of the songs that stand out a lot more on the Doris album than they do on the Hockey Dad album. Like stand by that. I think Fairfield is fucking incredible of a song, and like I fully expect could be in my top 10.
Amazing.
And
Mm.
yeah, it could go either way any future week. I know I'm kind of like dragging this out, but I'm kind of like thinking as I talk here to kind of get an answer.
Doris is really
I
spanning
think
the
I'm gonna
spectrum.
have to just for this. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to put Hockey Dad as number 2 and Doris as number 1. But I feel like there will be weeks in which that changes.
Your Doris is not on top. Mine's on the bottom. Trix is in the middle.
Yeah,
Just how it is sometimes.
we are truly the dissonance and the dissonant waves.
Truly.
Now, with all of that being said, it's time to talk about next week.
Picks next week.
And I
Yeah, you wanted to go
first.
first, didn't you?
Yes, because I have picked 2
Go
albums.
first.
Specifically because Trix did Pretty Hate Machine. Now,
Okay.
Fair play.
the first one, it's one I've been meaning to cover. And, it was like, oh, head like a hole, hole like a head. Laura Jane Grace, hole in my head. That's the first one.
That's such a shit pun, but 2024 album, so
Now,
you get away with
yeah.
it.
that's a shit pun. This is even worse. Anyone remember the opening to the song "Sin"? Can someone just briefly just say how it goes real quick?
Just the lyrics to it.
No, like not the lyrics, but like just the instrumentation. What is it doing?
I got it pulled up. Hissing,
Like, how is it hissing?
like a moaning hiss.
Okay, there's something a little bit after that, like a sha 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 sha
Is
sha.
that hi hat?
Is that a hi hat?
Yeah. It sounds like it's whatever it is. It's filling in for a hi hat.
But it's the sha 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 thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like a sample.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
Yeah.
Well, in my brain, that sha 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 and sin, that sounds a lot like something else. Shots, 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 shots. That's right. We're doing LMFAO's Party Rock.
That was wasn't shots like Lil Jon?
It's LMFAO and Little John.
We have Little John. Yeah.
It was close. Hell yeah.
It's
Anyways, I'm actually
Oh, I gotta pick something, Trix.
okay.
And you don't get to leave before I pick something, and I'm gonna go think of something to completely fuck with Dominic for picking that. But I'll probably do that next week because I'm just so pissed at that I can't properly think. So I'm gonna continue on with the Aussie slowcore because there's a lot of stuff to cover this year. I need to get onto it, and may as well just get it all done week by week. Compare shit if you can. Blah blah blah. Garage Sale. I've been talking about them for a while, and now they finally have a release that's out during a time that we are recording. So, Garage Sale's Stars Fall 2 EP. That will now be finally covered by us. And I'm thinking of something else because that's only 20 minutes, and I'm gonna kind of stray away from emo because I've done a lot of emo recently over the year and over the past couple of years, and I think it's you know what we haven't fucking done in a while and like should have done this year. Fan Club Wallet, they have an EP. Our Bodies Paint Traffic Lines. That's also out, and may as well I guess add another EP since that's only like 30 minutes. We could do like something that's like 15 minutes, can't we? No one minds if we add another 10 to 15 minutes onto this, right?
No. My
No.
pick's only 35 minutes, so
Oh no, wait, no. I know what we can add. It's not an EP, it's an album, but this is already short as it is, and this is a short enough album. Let's add a new Cheek Face. It's sort
Cheek
of-
face.
Yeah, get a little throwback whilst we're doing another throwback. Yeah, we'll do Cheek Face. I like Cheek Face.
I am picking an Australian artist, and I said that they were notable or influential or something like that. I forget exactly how I phrased it. That was hours ago. But I only said that because my mother knows who Amy Taylor is. That's right, we're doing Emil and the Sniffers, Comfort to Me.
I always thought Trix was the better person on this podcast.
I've been listening to it at work.
It's a good fucking album.
It is.
You want to actually just like throw Dominic out and just listen to Sniffers?
Fuck you. Which
Fuck
one?
it, let's throw on Emil and the Sniffers as well.
So I wasn't the one
Comfort to
thinking
Me?
LMFAO, fucking Dominic.
You said it was Comfort to
We'll
Me.
do Comfort to Me and Emil and the Sniffers, the self-titled. We'll do both of them.
Yeah, hell yeah.
They're short.
I want to point out that I bought my dad an Emil and the Sniffers shirt for Christmas, and it's the one where she's holding up her members on a leash. And that's from one of the music videos of the debut.
Yeah.
All right. So that makes next episode Garage Sale, Stars Fall 2 EP, Fan Club Wallet, Our Bodies Paint Traffic Lines EP, and Cheek Faces, It's Sorted. If I'm assuming that's the one, because you never actually said it was the album It's Sorted.
Yeah, it's sorted.
Yes. Trix, you've picked Emil and the Sniffers self-titled and their second album Comfort to Me, correct?
Yes.
And I've picked Laura Jane Grace's Hole in My Head and LMFAO's Party Rock. That's it this week. Plenty to think about for next time. This has been Dissonant Waves. This has been Dominic.
Yeah.
I'm DACICHOCKI on Twitter, Dominic Chikoki on YouTube. I do the Games My Mom Found podcast sometimes. We just recorded the episode about Rechain of Memories, Kingdom Hearts yesterday, so that'll be out eventually. Look forward to that. You two can go.
I have been Ritalin. You can catch me on somewhere. It'll be in the description below. I'm also really hungry right now, so yeah.
I've Trix, and I'm gonna give a shout out to Cheez-It Party Mix. And that is my entirety of what I'd like to plug this week.
Wonderful. Have a good time party rocking, everybody. See you later.